By raise of hands, how many have had a crucial conversation in the last 6 months? By raise of hands, how many have not had a crucial conversation in the last 6 months? By raise of hands, how many aren't going to raise your hand no matter what question I ask? What's a crucial conversation and why does it matter? In the year 1990, we began a research effort. We would go into businesses and organizations. We would ask people to identify who are the very best communicators they know in their workplace. And then we would observe these people to say, how do they do what they do? Over a 12-year period, we clocked over 10,000 hours of observation, watching these master communicators at all levels of the organization. The executive level, middle level of management, first line supervisory, some who had no supervisory responsibilities. We wanted to know, union leaders or not, profit or nonprofit, government or armed services, how do the very best communicators do what they do? Well, the results of our study is we identified 29 different interpersonal skills these master communicators use. We also identified 8 primary principles or strategies of communication. We also found that the way you handle a crucial conversation makes all the difference in terms of results and relationships. One of our first learnings that was a surprise to me is that for most of us, and these percentages change depending upon your position in the organization, your job description, but for most of us, about 90% of our communication is routine, regular, and casual. And here was the surprise learning, you and I do really well at it. 90% of the time, you and I give instructions. We ask clarification. We paraphrase. We summarize. We ask people to repeat it. We repeat it to make sure the message is received. And we do just fine at it. So here's my first bit of advice. When you're in a conversation that's routine, regular, and casual, do what you do. You're great at it. That's why you're as successful as you are. However, we also learn something. And that is about 10% of our conversations are not routine, are not regular, or are not casual. And that's where we saw people melt down, short circuit. Reasonable, rational people suddenly do silly things, sometimes awful things, things they're later very sorry for and wish they could bring back. Sometimes they give you the silent treatment, like a little kid in the sandbox takes their toy and won't let you play with it. Or sometimes they throw a tantrum. They go violent. They say unkind things, they bully, they threaten, and later they're usually very sorry for doing that. We became very interested in why do these 10% conversations happen? And what are the implications? What if they were handled differently? Would it make a difference? Let me give you an example of why this is so important. I was asked to work with an executive team that I was told was struggling. I said, fine, let me interview the team members, then we'll get the whole team together. They said, fine. So I sat down with the first team member. I said, so what's the problem with the team? He said, the CEO is the problem with the team. I said, what's the problem with the CEO? He said, he's authoritarian, he's a micromanager, he won't listen, he's abusive. I said, give me an example. How's he abusive? He said, in last week's team meeting, he called me an SOB, only he didn't even bother to abbreviate it. I said, that doesn't seem appropriate. He said, I thought not, but that's not all. And then he gave me a list of crude and rude phrases and terms that this CEO had used publicly, threats, ultimatums. Thanked him for the interview. Sat down with the next team member, said, what's the problem with the team? She said, the CEO's the problem with the team. Gave me the same list of complaints. By the time I had interviewed each team member, they were in unanimous agreement about what the problem was and who the problem was. I finally had an opportunity to interview the CEO. I said, so what's the problem with the team? He goes, I haven't quite been able to put my finger on it. He said, I'm not sure what's wrong, but we're just not coming together. I said, interesting. I said, how would you characterize your leadership style? He said, me? Oh, I'm patient. I like people. I'm a good listener. He said, I give people high degrees of freedom, let them find their own best way to do their job. I guess you'd call me a participative leader. I said, oh, that's so interesting. Flip through my notes. Have you ever called anyone an SOB? Have you ever called anyone this, this, this? I started going down the list. He listened, he goes, whoa, guilty as charged. He says, but you got to understand something. That only happens on those rare occasions when I get really upset, and then I quickly apologize. Well, there you have it. Okay, got a few questions for you. Who were the team members describing in my interviews? I'd propose to you, they were describing the CEO 10% of the time. Who was the CEO describing in his interviews? Himself, about 90% of the time. Now, later through my own observations, I verified those numbers are pretty accurate. 90% of the time, he was patient. 90% of the time, he was a good listener. Here's the million-dollar question. Which had the biggest impact on relationships and results? The 90% or the 10? The 10%. Those are the conversations that literally formed the relationships. Those are the conversations that produced results or tripped up results, became barriers to results. Would the same thing be true in, say, parenting? Ooh, let's not go there. Let's stay with business, huh? Well, what we found is the way we handle those 10% conversations are critical to our relationships and results. And in fact, we realized these aren't just difficult conversations. These aren't tough conversations or just fierce conversations. These are crucial conversations, crucial to results, crucial to relationships. So, what's a crucial conversation? We found it occurs when three factors come together. The first is high stakes. This is a conversation that matters. This is about something important, something that matters to you or matters to me or maybe to both of us. High stakes conversation is the first factor of a crucial conversation. Now, we found if two people are having a high stakes conversation and both agree, no problem. But if you have the second condition, opposing opinions, high stakes opposing opinions almost always creates the third condition, strong emotions. High stakes, opposing opinions, strong emotions, you just stepped into a crucial conversation. And the way you handle this is going to have a huge impact on results and relationships. Now, I think it's time for the second bit of advice for the day. That is, when the conversation's routine, regular, and casual, do what you do. You're great at it. But when those three factors come together, high stakes, opposing opinions, strong emotions, you just stepped into a crucial conversation. And what you need to do is stop, mid-sentence if necessary, both feet on the brakes. Because this conversation just turned crucial, and the way you handle this is going to have a huge impact on results and relationships. Stop. Don't say another thing. Open up your toolkit. You're going to need all of the skills you possess to make sure this goes in a helpful direction. Now, a crucial conversation is the key to improving performance. There are a lot of levers which leaders can use to improve results. One lever is called technology. By improving technology, you can leverage results and dramatically improve results. By raise of hands, how many have significantly improved results by improving technology? A lot of us. A second lever that's very important and powerful in improving results is called process improvement. Improve the way you conduct your work. Map the processes, analyze them, say what's non-value added activity? How could we improve upon the way we do our work? How many have used process improvement as a lever to improve results? It's a great lever. We have found the single greatest lever to improve results and relationships is the way we handle these most crucial of conversations. Some of you may have heard of an awful ugly little thing called nosocomial infection. Nosocomial infection. It means hospital acquired. That means you didn't have it when you checked in the hospital, you got it while you were there. Very nasty. We want to do everything in our efforts in healthcare to prevent nosocomial infection and dramatically reduce the causes of it. Well, I don't know about where you live. Where I've studied a lot in Utah, they've developed a technology that literally fights nosocomial infection. Perhaps you've heard of it. It's called soap and water. What they found, if people adequately, consistently, regularly wash their hands between patient contact, the incidence of nosocomial infection drops dramatically. And for years, the medical community has been trying to get people to wash their hands. We did a major study of healthcare, and in fact, you can find it on the web at silencekills.com. And in one hospital we were studying, we found that 50% of the doctors and physicians failed to adequately wash their hands between patient contact. Now, the medical community knows that one of the crucial, vital behaviors in reducing nosocomial infection is washing your hands, but here's 50% of the physicians not doing it. Well, as surprising as that is, we also realized there's another vital behavior other than just washing your hands. It's, do you have the courage, the conviction, the ability and skills to have a crucial conversation when you see noncompliance? You know what we found in that same hospital? 80% of the medical staff, when they saw a doctor or physician not adequately wash their hands, said nothing. They went silent. In other words, they were allowing that behavior to continue by not having that conversation. Now, what if every single person in that hospital, whenever they see anyone not comply with the safety standards, especially around washing your hands, when they see that problem, they own it. And they have a crucial conversation with the person. And they're supported by leadership when they do. Would that have an impact on the rates of nosocomial infection? Would that have an impact on the washing of hands, the behavior? We found it does in significant and powerful ways. Whether it's patient safety, or it's quality, or it's cost cutting, or it's improving productivity, any of these important business results that you and I as leaders care about can be significantly impacted by using a lever called crucial conversations. How we handle those crucial conversations has a major impact on results and relationships. In closing, here's the final point. Learn to look is one of the principles we found the master communicators use in their conversation. Learn to look. Learn to look for when a conversation turns crucial. If it's routine, regular, and casual, do what you do. But ask yourself, is this high stakes for either me or them? Ask yourself, are we disagreeing? Do I see opposing opinion? Ask yourself, do I see any evidence of strong emotion? If you do, you just stepped into a crucial conversation. Both feet on the brakes. Stop. Open up your toolkit. Be conscious. Be thoughtful. By learning to look and seeing these crucial conversations, you can have a huge impact on the results you care most about as a leader and the relationships you have in the workplace and at home. Oh, applause.